Hello and good evening or good afternoon. Welcome to the 17th episode of the Neoteran Herald Weekly. We are coming to you as we are on the verge of waiting for the start of week number 36 in the Neoteran calendars, 6th Erarium year, the 6th year of the Kingdom Consciousness calendar. And today is a very, very special occasion because you're on the verge of one of the most important indicators of the windows for programming time that are available to us, and that is the day that is referred to in certain faith circles as Pentecost. And we continue referring to it Pentecost not because we want to impose a certain worldview or interpretation or understanding of time and happenings, but because we recognize that the cultures that came before us, they did discover something, or they did unveil something, they did institute something in the fabric of time that we are of ourselves beholden to. Before I get too much ahead of myself, let me introduce myself. And as usual, as always, my name is Joroge Waho Mewaregogo. I'm your astrologer, and because we don't have much time, we are going to go right into it. And as always, we always look at, first of all, what data, what indicators, what are the planetary alignment that we align to from a celestial dimensional perspective and from a terrestrial perspective. What sort of alignments are we in this period in time during the 36th week? There are 51 weeks in the Neoteran calendar year, number 6 ER, and this is the 36th week. And if you look at the alignments there, that is what you're going to go into. These are the alignments as you can see them on your screen. I am being very careful to ensure that what I'm talking about is what is being displayed on your screen. It means multitasking here, because often what I'm looking at is not always what is being projected across the and for me to be able, like, maybe to add annotation or pointers, I need to look at a specific screen, and that is what we're doing right now. So here we are on the that is on the verge of starting of week 36, and what you see here is the planetary dimensions. We call them the planetary dimensions because these dimensions are indicators of what sort of angular measures exist between the planet themselves and some references in the celestial heaven and ourselves in our location. So, because these are constantly changing, we choose a particular period in time that can be representative of week number 36. When is that point in time? The sunrise at the most standard place there is on planet Earth. There is a place we know, only us know, as Taunet, the beginning, the genesis of all time reckonings on this plane of existence. We are talking about planet. Remember, there we are on a plane or a dimensional place of existence, and exercising our what. So we look at on the 10th of the 9th month, the sunrise, a Taunet of that period in time, it captures for us the alignments, and these are the numbers that we look at. These are, if you want to compare to last week, we can look at number 35. That is what I hope that on your screen we've already moved to that. So those are the ones that these are the indicators for the planetary dimensions that are there, and they are arranged according to the preceding order, or rather the successive order of what the planets are by their significance in their how they rule the dimensions of time. The sun is the foremost one, the moon is the second most important luminary in that sense, and then following short order all the planets up until the ascending node of the lunar disk. We call it the AC node. Other people may speak about this as the northern node and the southern node, depending on the perspective you have, but we're talking about the very same thing. So, as usual, I'm not going to these specific dimensions, but I'll illustrate for you the planetary order that is there from a graphic understanding. For a look at the planets, we have planetary maps, what we call planetary alignments. And look at the first of all, because we don't want to overpopulate the screen. And I may be certain that that is the screen you're getting. Good, that's amazing. So this is at the start of, at the middle of week number 36, at the exact midpoint, at the most exact representative moment in the week, taking a snapshot of the entire heaven, the sea, spread them using Mercator's projection. It is good for market projection. I know is something that has been receiving a lot of bashing, especially in our area of the world from African leaders who feel that it is not representative. Yeah, it's not representative like for generating, globe maps that need to show the sign and the relative, the sizes of the continents and the land masses that are there. But it's very, very good for showing navigation and also, and with that sense, because planets are also navigators, planets are navigators in the heavens. They, using Mercator's projection, gives us what is descending, what is ascending, what is celestial, what is crossing into what celestial house, at what angular measure they are. That gives us very, very good understanding of that. So we're not perverting the system, we just are using the most, the best 2D perspective of what is not a two-dimensional but a multi-dimensional, universe of the celestial heavens. And we give it in this perspective. So here we are. I don't want to go into too much detail here. Again, as you see, the third and the fourth quadricycles of the celestial heavens from the Neoteran perspective are the ones that have the most dominant presence of major planets. All six of them are there, but the moon, which is transit, in a sense that is transit, has just moved into the first quadricycle. At this point in time, whether you're coming live to you, it's about in the fourth quadricycle. So it's actually right here at the start of the day, because we are on the fifth day. We are entering into we are on the sixth day of the week now. But by the time you'll be, what will be marking the start of the new day, we'll have moved into the seventh days of the week. Okay, so this is the lunar disk, the moon in house number 1, and then we start from house number 2 all the way to house number 6. There is no presence of major planetary body. You just come here and see this planetary body that is here in Harvey Zelda, the indicator for priestly assignments. Remember, we were talking about this at the beginning of these, consecutive sessions of Neoteran Herald Weekly, and I think that was with the episode 10. This is episode 17. So 10 episodes ago is when we were talking about the definite break of planet Saturn, which is previously been retrograde, and therefore it's almost halfway through Harvey Zelda. But remember, at some point next year, it will go back again to a little bit of a retrograde, and we'll keep witnessing that retrograde motion for a while. I need to have a more exact issue in the measurements of this before I pronounce myself fully. Now we're looking at Planet Mars, which was made its transit to house number 8 just last week, and now it's very, very much well established in the entry division of house number 8. House number 8 is what in your Terran lexicon we talk of as being chimeric, in the sense that if you look at the entry division of that house, or the 15 degrees of that house, for that matter, for those who use tropical and Vedic traditional way of measuring and specifying what the celestial signs are. So the 15 degrees of house number 8 are under the rulership, the hostage of Aries, the ram, and then so the what we get the behemoth, the ram and the behemoth. They are there. They are right here. They share the domicile of house number 8. With behemoth goes on to dominate house number 9. So that is where we have the sun, which not too long ago, if you remember, was in conjunction with planet Mercury. But planet Mercury now is well established as an evening star, as an ultra-solar planet, an ultra-solar prograde Mercury, right now inching ever closer to transiting across from house number 9. We'll soon talk about it being on the cusp of house 10. That can be a creative indicator for somebody that is good and maybe not so good for others. Remember, that is the ethos which you follow. The celestial signs are not universally good or universally bad. They can be bad, they can be good, they can be different. It all depends on your specific planetary or natal profile. Your specific natal profile guides us into understanding whether a particular, and I am certain that the measure that we are getting on the we need to change this indicator here. And I needed to check because we are getting an indication for the time that is not very correct. I need to change the date. Sorry, give me some little bit more time here. I need to change the 23 till in. How can it be 23? Not earlier, but 10 p.m. according to these 50 minutes. I don't know how we will manage to refresh that page so that our countdown time, because it should be about 53 minutes away from the start that needed, but it's telling us that we are 2 hours and 33 minutes away. That was if we were to go live exactly with this indicator. So what I'll do, count on them, interact with this, and it seems like it won't give us the correct countdown. Or does to go to the countdown? So if I take it out, then add another source and call it countdown window. Sorry for this. I need to correct this so that we will be able to mark the beginning of the day at the proper time. I need this displayed in the correct dimensions, which is 1280 by 720 pixels. Okay, good. So if we come here, you can see clearly, and that is not very good because it's giving us the Gregorian date. That's an anathema for us. That's an anathema for us. That's an anathema for us. So correct. Now you're getting the proper indication without. I would love not to speak about the Gregorian calendar at all in our platform because the Neoteran calendar reigns supreme and all alone in this perspective of things. So we have 51 minutes there. I need to go back to the scene we were illustrating here, and that is of the major planets as they are lined out across the celestial heavens. So you're talking about starting of next week. I think that is what I was talking about. Mercury, which is inching ever closer to house number 10. We're talking about it. So in the understanding, we can talk about the nature of Mercury and Venus, the two feminine creative planets, Nordic planets in the Neoteran system, being both evening stars. And in that sense, they are both waxing evening stars. They are growing brighter and brighter by the day. And then last year we have planet Jupiter, again about to make its transit to house number 11. House number 11. This is going to be very, very essential. I remember when I started being very dogmatic about following the stars. I remember this was in the, reckoning it would have been year 5 anterenium, 5 years before the beginning of the advent of the new calendar. And I was observing Jupiter just as it was approaching the hind leg of the lion, the reclining lion that is the indicator for the house number 11 and 12. And that was that gives me, that is almost 12 years ago. It's almost 12 years ago. And this is telling me you're coming very much close. At that time, of course, I didn't know about the Kingdom calendar, how we would create such a magnificent system as we are talking of now. But we're coming very close to that. And this shift is going to be essential. We've not really been giving accordance to Jupiter's transitory changes that indicate for us change in the kingly authority, or royal authority, or regal mandate that we have within our community. But that is happening this week. It will be happening not this week, but within the next few months. And we will begin that kind of. So study, we keep a cross touch, keep a close eye on Jupiter. There's some people who have been really pressing on me to begin, declaring what generation of kingly and forces are in effect at any time. And within the next few months, you'll be able to give that a very specific, indication for the major planets. So those are the major planets. And yet, this is how they were looking last week. So week 35, week 36. And I'm sure it is the graphic that, the correct graphic that is showing there. So week 35 and week 36, you can see clearly most of them are moving, certainly all of them are moving towards the right-hand side of your screen, towards more retrograde positions in their, not retrograde, but prograde positions in their shifts across the major heavens. We are about 47 minutes away. Let's look at the minor planets. And minor planets for week number 36 are as shown, or as you said, this is at sunrise. Minor planets don't change much, but if I switch back to where we were last week, that is happening within the next 6 seconds. You see week number 35, that's the position of the minor planets, the 9 minor planets, actually 6 minor planets, and 3 rather planetary celestial points. We have celestial points, some that are planetary, some that are non-planetary. They are stuck. These ones are the non-planetary ones. And we are needed to start naming them again. They are not the Vagonian equinox, but this is the DC equinox. This is not the Sagittarian solstice. That is an adjective, by the way. But it's essentially, proper name is the IC, the Imam Shili solstice point, the Imam Shili creative solstice, not solstice, but a creative transitory point or celestial alignment. I don't remember the exact word, but I come up with it. But if you look at the specific changes that are happening, of course, the anti-solar point will move at the same frequency as the sun does. And as you see, the sun transiting into house number 9. Is it house number 9 within by this week? I need to just to be sure that is what you're talking about. Yes, it's house, the sun going into house number 9. And therefore, with the sun going into house number 9, similarly, the anti-solar points will be moving into house number 3, 6 houses behind. And that is a major indication that you can see as you shoot from from week number 35 to week number 36, you see that shift happen. Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. Going to week 36. And then another thing you'll notice is that there was a definite planetary conjunction across week 35. And here it is. But as you go into week 36, that is going to be broken. I am not certain that it should actually not be broken, because as you see later, that conjunction actually does continue. That is between planet Vesta and planet Neptune. That at the beginning continues well across this week. When you look at the indications that are most significant for prognosticating, Ceres draws a little bit closer to planet Uranus here, and essentially the AC point remains just where about it was. So those are the planetary alignments. These are the minor planets. Those are the major planets. And we're going to take a little bit of a break before we look at the highlights of the week as we begin to look at the calendar. So give me just a couple of minutes. I go get myself a cup of water. We are just 43 minutes away from the start of the new week, from the start of the day of Pentecost. Thank you for giving us the time for that break. We are exactly just over 37 minutes from the time when we must mark the beginning of Pentecost, beginning of week number 36 of the Neoteran calendar, year number 6, era regnum, and therefore we'll go straight away so we look at the highlights. What can we expect this week? This is a significant, important thing. Of course, we know for certain this is the day, the equivalent of the day of Pentecost. It's one of the most cataclysmic days ever to take place on the face of the planet and in the entire cosmos as it were. And let's look at, of course, the calendar itself. Let's look at the calendar itself in just a second as we move to that scene. And this is the calendar. This is the calendar, the Neoteran calendar, week number 36. We have Shavuot, that is marked on Friday. We have Pentecost, that is coming on this Sunday. Shavuot on week 35, and Pentecost, of course, at the beginning of week number 7, week 36. And as we mark the beginning of week number 36, we also be indicating for certain that it's the start of our week. This is a very significant week. We're going to see all the alignments that are taking place. So let's delve into that right away, without much further ado. What's the first thing that is happening this week? First thing that is happening this week is, of course, a continuation of something that has been happening ever since we received these episodes, and a multi-planetary conjunction in Harvey Zelda is also in for this week. We see that its character changes somewhat. Western Neptune's perfect conjunction that what continues throughout week number 36. So that is sort of meant with the graphic that indicated that that conjunction has broken. That's a little bit inaccurate. So forgive us for that. But this is going to happen, and throughout week number 36, and at the very start of week number 37, we are going to say that that conjunction is going to break. We're going to see. Last week we were talking about another conjunction that was happening, and that was between planet Aries and Mars, and but that was happening, but Mars is actually there. Remember, Aries is actually at the very entry point of house number 8, but close enough to be considered within influence of Harvey the Elder. Because Mars, which was also in that very same sort of junction last week, has now moved considerably further on, as we saw in the planetary maps, to be properly and legally stationed within house number 8. We can no longer consider it. So 5 planets were in conjunction last week. Now we have 4. Vesta and Neptune perfectly conjoined throughout this week. This is not. Yes. Oh yeah. I was looking at house number 6, but of course the entire context of it is the exit division of the house number 6 and the entry division of Harvey Zelda. Okay, these divisions are just terms that we use for describing the nature of the heavens. A celestial house, in the Neoteran understanding, is 30 degrees expanse of the celestial heaven. And therefore, we talk about the entry division. We talk about the first 15 of these, and the last 15 become the exit. But in between there is a 6-point division. There's a 3-point division between 3-point expanse towards that division that comes the midway point, the midway, like the midway section. But the midway, some part of the midway is in the entry, some part of the midway is in the exit. So that's just a pointer to some of the terms we use. So we talk about midway. What are we talking about? We're talking about that expanse of 6 degrees at the middle of the 30 degrees. Okay, exactly. Or rather, you could consider it at the beginning of the degree of a house. When we start a house from 0, but then we're getting to number, not number 9, but number 12. No, or rather number 13. 14, and where the 15 degree is, and then the 16, 17, and 18, that part. constitute the midway point, and then it go all the way to the end of the house. Now, as I said, planet Mars has left this conjunction. This happened last week, the week that this current week that is heading on Thursday, the 4th of the 9th common month in the era reigning record. It is certified that you are looking at the same screen I am looking at. Therefore, you are not confused by the things I'm talking about, and I don't have to repeat myself. I often have to do that. Now, other highlights for this week is that Pluto is starting, planet Pluto is starting the 4th retrograde transit phase through Cabell. Planet Pluto has been in Cabell for over 3 years now. And over that period of time, every year it does undergo certain retrograde phases, because they are happening within Cabell. Sometimes they extend it all the way to house 4, but now they just this fourth one will be entirely contained within Cabell. So the fourth one, and that is in this current tropical cycle. This doesn't mean that for all time this is the fourth time. For over all cosmic time, that is the fourth time that Pluto has undergone a retrograde phase. No, it means only within this current tropical cycle of Pluto, that takes several decades to many decades to complete, rather, is the fourth one. Now, another planet that has a significant aspect happening, and you may wonder, why are we not talking about when is this happening? Now, we're in the middle of really defining the tropical cycles and retrograde phases and their stages. And we have not yet gained enough mastery or confidence to say this is the measure that we consider a planet. The way a planet doesn't read, even when it stands still, it still shows some perturbation, some motion. Therefore, we need to specify clearly so that we can be able to divide. What we know is that when we were looking at Pluto last week, we know for certain it was at standstill. And right now, we know for certain Pluto is in retrograde. When did that exchange take place exactly? We have not defined that for various planets. Because some of the planets are slow, some of them are not so slow. So we need to come with a proper definition that will serve us forever. Will serve us for a long time. We don't want to keep changing it. So for some of these planets, you will not be able to see when we say specifically this is in the starting or when it's what, but we'll tell you when the shapes change. So what I'm saying, that the language with which you are referring to Pluto last week is different from what we are referring to Pluto this week. And by the way, Pluto is very, very important this week. You're going to see this. There are two other important indicators of time that relate specifically to Pluto this week. So first one, change in its motional junction. It is stopped being at standstill as it was for a couple of weeks that we were talking about, and now clear retrograde. And we saw that in the planetary map that was showing not too long ago. So Pluto, make what? The next highlight also concerns Pluto as well. I will talk about, first of all, ultrasolar retrograde Venus, the planet Venus, the feminine synodic planet Venus, which requires more than one description. It's ultrasolar, appears in the evening. Prograde, walks in, it grows brighter and brighter and further removed from the sun's junctions at any time. So it is doing an aspect that we call a quincunx. Now, it looks like a tongue twister, but the problem is that we are changing certain Latin terms to make them palatable to English, Anglo-Saxon terms. This is related to like the number 15 in the Latin language. If you listen to tennis, last week you were watching tennis, if you're a tennis fan, like I am, you would have watched Rome Open. And whenever a point, the point reaches 15, like maybe both players are 15, you see the announcer saying Quindici. So this is related to the same because we're talking about 150 degrees being the separation between planet Venus, the ultra-solar prograde Venus, and planet Pluto. And that, again, is not starting this week, but it is attaining what we call its exact alignment. The exact point where Venus and Pluto will have 150 degrees of separation is Pentecost Sunday, is this very day that is starting in just a matter of minutes. And yes, so that is an alignment again concerning Pluto. I don't know the next one is also concerning Pluto. No, it's not, but we will have one more because these ones are raised according to when they happen. So today something is happening on this past day. Then Monday, what is happening on Monday? One thing happening on Monday is the sun sextile. That means the sun is going to move to a point where its separation from planet Neptune is going to be exactly 60 degrees. Planet Neptune and Vesta, the perfect conjunction, remember what we say that is contained in Harvey's Elder. So the sun will be 60 degrees ahead, of course, in house number 9. 60 degrees, exactly 2 houses ahead. And that is going to happen on Monday, the 8th of the 9th month of the 6th era regnum year. Again, what's the significance of this? Good, bad, indifferent. Possibilities, 3 different possibilities. Therefore, the best way to know, have your personal astrological profile. So people with personal astrological profiles are finding this very information very useful, sometimes not work. For you, if you don't have one, it can look like academic. It doesn't have to be academic because remember, we have some lineages at the end of the week. We're going to speak to cause good effect for every one of us from these alignments to help us. So here we go. Another one. So the third highlight relating to planet Pluto this week is its square with planet Mars, the retrograde planet Pluto, and planet Mars exact square alignment will take place on Tuesday. This Tuesday that's coming of week number 36. And that is the date 9th of the 9th common lunar month. So another change, and I want to keep looking at the time, we have 24 minutes still, is the sun square of the lunar AC node, what in other terminologies, if you follow other forms of astrology, other schools of astrology refer to the AC node as the north node. And it's going that square, that means they'll be separated by exactly 90 degrees on Wednesday, the 10th of a 9th month. Remember again, there are dozens of alignments that happen, especially with planets, with the moon. But I choose the most significant one for us to celebrate. But these ones are all very, very specific to certain people. So there we go. Now we come to the most programmable planetary body, the one that carries significance across most times in space, like the moon. Now the moon is at a very, very important juncture in its what? If you look at the calendar, look at let's go back to the lunar, the calendar for the year. Let me just move there because this is the last slide we're looking at. And I realize we do have some time. So, and I just want to point this out because I feel that it's essential. We're talking about week number 36. Yes, that's with Pentecost. 7 weeks since we marked a Resurrection Sunday. 7 weeks, exactly 49 days since we marked Resurrection Sunday. And here what you're seeing is this progression. This week, the moon does not have a synodic junction. Why? Because actually yesterday is when it reached its last synodic junction, and then on Sunday, next week is going to go into, it was attaining the first quarter here on Saturday. Yesterday, if you remember last week's highlights, and then On this 14th, as you can see, the opposition, which is the third uh, junction in the synodic cycle of the moon, is going to happen. So you're going to see that when you look at the table depicting the transits of the moon, major lunar transits aligned this week, nothing at all relates to the synodic cycle. That can be especially significant. And what does that mean? That throughout this week, the moon is. So earlier today, it shifted. Earlier, just a couple of hours ago, it shifted to the first quarter. It became now a waxing gibbous moon. So it reached the first quarter. That is what we call first quarter. Now it's a waxing gibbous. And that means throughout all these days, all these things happening, the moon will be doing all these things in one phase of its synodic growth, creative facet, as a waxing, ever brightening gibbous moon. And therefore, that means it will be there in the night sky in the evenings for more than 6 hours. So the moon will progressively be setting well after midnight from tonight. So the first one of these is a lunar node transit on the draconic cycle. Not many things happen on the draconic cycle, but we do talk about them. And that is the change that we see. All of them are actually instantaneous in that nature. They're not progressive, as stars usually are. So the lunar DC node, the descending node, it will be in complete conjunction. And if the moon was at either new moon or full moon status, and this was happening at the same time, then we would have an eclipse. I told you when the synodic and the draconic cycles meet, or some major junctions happen between the two, so two things happening there, we get eclipses. This gives us a certain understanding about the moon's importance. So this happening on the Sunday, sometimes over the next 24 hours, but it will be happening. I'm not telling you the exact time. You need to know that time because this can be a very, very important period in time for harnessing and exerting influence. The planetary opposition with the moon and these perfectly conjoined planets in Habit is happening also this week, Monday. So the moon will be in opposition to Neptune and Vesta on Monday. Again, this is in the tropical lunar cycle, and it's an instantaneous kind of happening. Then I have on Tuesday. Tuesday, there are two events. There are two events happening on the tropical cycle of the moon. The first one of these is what we call a celestial creative gateway transit. A celestial creative gateway transit, and that means the moon will be aligning with one of the four important creative gateways in the celestial heavens that are used either for harnessing or propagation. And this particular one is the DC gateway. This is an instantaneous event happening in the tropical cycle of the moon on Tuesday. Second thing happening on Tuesday, the 9th of the 9th month, with regard to the lunar disk, to the moon, is a planetary opposition. With which planet? Planet Saturn. Okay? Planet Saturn, we know, is in Habit. That means you can be able to tell this is something you can be able to deduce right away. Talking about planetary opposition, and we know that planet Saturn is in Habit. That can tell you that on Tuesday, the moon will be 6,000 away. And that means it will be the first house. It will be the first house of the celestial heaven. We saw that a little bit in the maps that we're sharing, as the moon was the only major planet in the first quarters of the celestial heaven. So it's happening on Tuesday. Then Thursday, the moon undergoes another planetary aspects, planetary position to planet Mars. And that is instantaneous in the tropical calendar. Now, something I have kept saying, and I'll repeat again. When it comes to the moon undergoes all sorts of alignments and While we have other planets, we do consider certain aspects such as sextiles, quintiles, and quincunxes. Quincunxes. Please forgive me for not pronouncing that what very well. The quincunxes is how about that sort of term is happening. The moon we don't consider. We don't consider that highlight. It doesn't mean that they are not happening. The moon is doing sextiles, doing that come out in a very good a sextile, like 60 degrees of separation between the moon. Don't misquote me about the moon. So those are things happening with the moon. Those are things happening with the major planets. Those are the highlights. These are the windows of opportunity happening across the week. Can you open these windows? Are you able to unlock them? Are you able to use them for access? Are you able to exert influence through them? Can you harness any virtue through them? Yes, no, maybe. Depends on the sort of set of keys you have. The sort of set of keys you have, you, your loved ones, or those within your cycle. So, to know exactly how many of these events benefit you, don't benefit you, reach out to me. Some of them may be like especially in the synodic cycle. I say synodic cycle of the moon doesn't have any sort of caveats. If it's also got to do with the sun and the sun itself, with the moon, of course, that is the synodic cycle, nothing else also changes. So the moons, the sun are going into one of the major creative gateway transit points, like equinoxes and solstices. Then there are not really any caveat. For except in one, most of the other sort of alignments and transits we've talked about this afternoon, heading to evening, they may depend on who you are. Now, where are we in the countdown? Where are we in the countdown? Less than 15 minutes away. We are less than 15 minutes away from the countdown to the beginning of a new week, the beginning of the day of Pentecost. I want to give you 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, I want you to contemplate. What is it do you want to achieve this new week? I'm giving you a sort of a cheat code, a sort of a carte blank check that you can check in, even if you don't know your profile. And you believe with me and speak with me at the exact moment this new week starts. You're going to speak to this week, and that gives you a bit of a license to override every other caveat that may be there that may stand against you across this week. Okay? That's all right. This is for you not to get your profile done. No, you just say there's one exact video that I can speak to specifically, and I can let you there by holding you by the hand and let you walk in and harness virtue and defeat any hobbles and roadblocks that may be there this week according to your what. So think about what it is you want to do. Has it got to do with family? Has it got to do with your business? Has it got to do with your global leadership or entrepreneurial ambitions? Anything. And when we speak about it, when you have it in your consciousness, we say it is great in our sight, beautiful in our sight, magnificent in our sight. That will be so. That is about 13 minutes away. I'm giving you 4 minutes now because I've spoken much longer than I should have. Let me. Stay with us, and then just over 9 minutes to 4 to the new day. As I've said, the window that is going to open at exactly 9 minutes, I want you to be able to be speaking at that point in time. Is going to give you a cheat code. Something like a cheat code is something, and you believe it me fervently, hold within your mind. What is it? Specifically, you can put one specific particular thing. Think about it. Speaking to that moment, as well as the advent of Pentecost that we are coming to within just 6 minutes, you'll be able to appropriate it for your good. Okay? So here we go. We are here on the verge of the start of the 7th day of the 9th common month in the era reigning year number 6 of the Neoteran calendar. And this day of Pentecost is auspicious. This day is of great significance. So consequence is of high ascendance. It's memorable and shall be recalled with great memories and affection. So I've realized that I've been speaking with my microphone held very far away. So I don't know whether you're hearing me very clearly, but I hope that you're hearing me now. So the 7th day of the 6 years, 9th common month is about to start. And I'm speaking to these beloved ones, objective this week. It could be that one particular thing that they fervently have wished for it to pass. It could be about family. It could be about business. It could be about education. It could be about advancement. It could be selfish. It could be selfless. It could be expansive or it could be inward looking. It could be for personal benefit. It could be for global expansion. Let these projects and schemes and desires that they have the ultimate expression this week on whatever particular day it is that it's happening. Whether we are in alignment with the aspect that we talked about, the conjunctions, the opposition, the sextile, the synchroncies, and all the other transits and alignments that have a special good consequence for us. These beloved ones will step into these windows without fear, without opposition, without being blocked, without experiencing movement back, without being driven back by the waves of opposition. And if there be any sort of contract in which they are entering into, I give them leave to enter as a superior power, to exert dominion and complete influence on affairs of men and affairs of divine beings. They are, in totality, from an individual perspective and from their collective enjoyment to this enterprise that we have awarded for ourselves, the very best of the generations of men and women upon the planet. This system that we have ordered, this perfected, glorious manifestation of the works of men and the works of divine being, has no equal, and it will give consequence. Where we will step forth with our feet, where we will speak with the vibration of our voice boxes, where our breathing, our eating, our cries and expressions of delight will have time to be heard of, is a place of utter dominion, is a place of highest forms of expression. Everything from what has been ruled over by the lunar disk and the solar disk in the darkness and light to which they represent, embody, and provide structure for the various emanations of days and nights, darkness and light, days, months, years, weeks, and other cycles of expression. This week is a shake-up, is a transformative progression of time. These 7 days have no equal heretofore. They cannot be exceeded, but what will come afterwards by our own words and by our own institution. I'm speaking globally for there to be no destructive natural forces, no quakes, no typhoons that will cause destruction to those who hold fervently to the belief of a new order, not designated to be so by beings of other realms, but by men on earth. I speak too of our system as we move through week 36 and day 17th installment of this episode. Our voice is going to be heard through digital spheres, and whenever we are going to place these highlights or expressions of the word that is spoken, that they will cause there to be such a pricking within the heart of men, that they will be beholden to ask this most welcome of questions. What therefore shall we do? And we will be imbued with courage and strength to tell these are the steps to follow. We come here out of choice. We come here knowing that what is beholden, what the world will come up to, is only what we authorize, what we give credence for. And now, as we bring to our minds this specific, these ideals, these that are spoken of, desires, dreams, objectives, and goals, these plans for the resources that we have acquired and amassed over time, we see, we behold their nature. I want you to remember, now I'm giving you instructions who is listening to me, because we just about less than 100 seconds now. Remember, at the time this clock ticks 0, I'll give you an opportunity to say it is something in your sight. It is good in my sight, or it's good in our sight. It's good enough, but it can be, you can use powerful. It is expressive. It is persuasive. It is exceedingly good. It is magnificent in our sight. So that is what I'm going to. So before we let the hour strike, because I've already spoken the words, before that hour strikes, I'm going to say it is so. And immediately you must respond. You have about 3 seconds to do it. You must respond with it is so, it is dash dash in your specific site. So we are now 40 seconds away, about 40 seconds away from that moment. Think about it. Prepare yourself. Set yourself. I'm just counting it down. I'm myself sucking up my psychic energy towards this impending opening of a window in the fabric of time. 20 seconds away. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 10. It is so, and it is magnificent in our sight. Yeah, thank you so much. We've done it. Spoke at that exact moment in time, trained our consciousness towards it, and guaranteed unrivaled, unprecedented success across the day of Pentecost, across week number 36. Have a consequential week. Have an amazing week. There'll be a highlight reel provided showing you exactly what moments that are happening this week, and of these particular words that are spoken to be of consequence to the week. You, the first fruits, the ones that were here with us as we spoke those words, have the capacity to harvest and harness all the good and salvage. But there shall be others that will refer to us in moments to come. They'll similarly have a cause for celebration, but of course not as much as you do. So I love you all. I have been, as always, your personal astrologer, Joroge Wahome Warubongo. Signing off for episode 17, coming to you on week 36, the start of week number 36. Week 36 has now started. Enjoy the next 7 days. We meet again at a period like now, exactly on Saturday afternoon. Cheerio. Love you.